Welcome to Spinner Rack, issue 51. This is the official comic book podcast of our Patreon. Once again, it's ad-free and first for Patreons. Then it goes out to the main feed about a week later. But this week, we are talking about Lazarus, Volume 1. And Charlie's not with us this week, but I am joined by someone that I go very far back with, back in the day of old podcasts, new. It's been on SFU a couple of times, and that is Mr. Rahl Giver. Rahl, how you doing?
Up? Oh, I'm all right.
Man.
I've got comics. I've got Dr. Pepper. I'm good.
All right.
Comfy bathrobe. I'm all settled in for the night.
Perfect. When we're ready to talk about some comics tonight, the one specific is Lazarus Volume 1. Oh, my goodness. I like Greg Rucka a lot. Very good writer. It's also illustrated by Michael Lark. So we're going to get into this, but before we do, we're going to say thank you to our patrons that make this thing happen. Our besties, Derek Trevelyan, a.k.a. the Figure Dude. We've got Francie. That's April's hairdresser. Xbox Expansion Pass, Mr. Luke Lore, Charlie's Uncle Tim Moran, getting this podcast on CDs once a quarter. We've got Friends with Benefits, John Zadorf, Brendan Myers. We've got Corey in HD, Matthew Keel, Kurt Krug, Tanya Lee, Chipotle Bear, Famous Seamus, Cam the Movie Man, Jay Newport, 007, Darth Prozac. And as always, we thank our super friend, Super Squad, Sean, Stella, and Henry Nias. They are great supporters, big comic book fans, and their favorite shop, I believe, is Nerdin' Out in Inver Grove Heights. And my favorite shop is also now Story Arc. I went there for free comic book day. They had cool merch. They had pencils or pens. They had water bottles. They had hats. They had bags. It was cool. Got a lot of free comics and also bought a bunch of comics. Very cool. And my wife actually sold her 3 of her books were sold there, and she got to talk to the kids who bought her books. So very, very cool. Larry, did you go out for free comic book day?
No, I was stuck working.
Or Rahl?
No, stuck working. The wife went, and the baby mama took the kiddo so that she didn't miss out as well. So, and I got my selection of free comic book day stuff through other means. We'll leave it at that.
Very, very cool.
Shady underworld of comic books.
Of free comics, yes. These ones that I think you can actually go online and read them now. What I always do with my free comic books, the ones I'm interested in reading, I will read. If there's ones for the little ones, I will get those to kids because my wife's in Taekwondo and there's kids there. Make sure that they get some comics. Just say, hey, read some comics, kids. The rest I put in those little free libraries that are around your neighborhood, maybe. Toss them in there when you're done and make some new readers. So there you go. If anybody else had any cool free comic book day stories, let us know. We talked about it on SFU. Had a great time. So with that, we are talking about Lazarus Volume 1. This book by Greg Rucka and Michael Lark. This is an interesting series, which I had not read this before. I saw it. And I'm like, this, and I told you, I'm like, hey, would you want to read this? And he goes, I don't know, I've got it. And I said, well, if you have Comixology / Kindle, it's there. That's where I typically read a lot of my books if I've never heard of it before. And you ended up finding it like at a good deal. So we said, let's read it.
Yeah. So the universe provided on this one. One, I will mention that despite the age difference, I am the old fuddy-duddy that is a stickler for actually having a book in my hand. So Comixology was right out the window for me. I know. Look, I appreciate it on principle and for like the availability of hard to find stuff, but I am a weird old fuddy-duddy and I want my book in my hand to sit and read. And I'll even give credit where credit is due, because like Marvel Unlimited's thing where it does the slide from one panel to the next one in the correct order and everything, so that it keeps the motion and the flow. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's incredibly well done. I love having a book in hand. And every once in a great while, you get something where digital doesn't work, like, Absolute Martian Manhunter #1. Freaking awesome.
Oh, really? Okay. I'll have to look at that because Well, I haven't read it yet, so I will be reading it because I have read the first three. Well, I've read the three launching absolute titles, and then
Mhm.
obviously we've got Flash. I've got Green Lantern, and then I was going to check out Martian Manhunter. I just have not. Too much stuff. I will get to it.
Manhunter is wild.
Oh, that's good to hear. I'm very excited for it. And my wife is also a physical reader,
Mhm.
although she has a visual. She has a visual disability. She has macular degeneration. So I thought a tablet would be great to do the blow up the panels, make it bigger if you need
Yeah.
to. So, but she still wants to do that. So you know what, everybody, the great thing is comic book shops love you if you buy
Uh-huh.
stuff. So do that, and that's where I typically, things that are not available in my subscriptions, I will go and buy them in store. So
Yeah.
so this one is available on Comixology if you want to read it there, in your comic shops, even half price books. That's a great place to get them used,
That's
or your
exactly where I
library.
found it.
Yeah, yeah, library as well. I mean, my library has amazing titles from young to manga to everything under the sun. So there, check it out there. But let's get into this book. So, like I said, this
Yes,
is a Greg
let's.
Rucka and Michael Lark. So Rucka crafts the story of a world shattered into fiefdoms and controlled by high-tech mob families. Each family has their very own Lazarus, a cybernetic warrior plug to carry out the family's dirty work on their path to control the population. So this is in the future, and essentially we've got mafia families that control everything, and they essentially have enforcers that are the Lazarus. It's very cool. Greg Rucka, if you don't know him personally, he created Batwoman, which was very cool. He's also written a lot of Batman books. He also was involved in writing The Old Guard, which is a Netflix series movies that are out now. So he wrote that. And then he was also involved in Whiteout, Black Magic, and did various issues, Queen and Country, if you remember that as well. And then Michael Lark did art on Batman, Terminal City, Gotham Central, Legend of the Hawkman, and he did issues of Captain America as well.
Okay.
So, Larry, this volume one collects the first four issues, and even in the back of it did have kind of his 4-page pitch
I
on
saw that. I
kind of the
read
premise
that.
of it. Yeah, it was very cool. It's kind of like a very 4 pages to tell you what the story is all about, and worked really well. So as we get into the story, what did you think? I mean, the way it opens, the way it tells the story, what did this do for you?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna make an addendum here. I don't think it was a world shattered into fiefdoms. I think it was this comes across much more as a world carved up into fiefdoms in terms of what was left over from before. Not shattered, carved. I think that's an important distinction to make.
Yeah,
But
it's
especially if you're dealing with,
post-apocalyptic. Yeah,
yeah, but especially if you're dealing with like the whole mob family-esque vibe, that carving makes a difference. But
yeah, and
to that end,
yeah,
I will
it's
say,
it's very.
oh no,
Oh,
you
good.
you you go, because I'll
I was
ramble.
gonna say,
You know better.
yeah, because it does feel like these aren't just mafia families. These feel like they were corporations that
Mhm.
one is involved in, like basically agriculture, genetic engineering of seeds and crops and strains like that. And the other family that we were introduced to that is in Mexico was all about weapon development. Like that is
Yeah.
their, so basically everybody has something that they're very good at, and they can trade and they can control. And they even talk about the names of the families. They talk about they keep referencing serfdom, waste,
Mhm.
and then the family. So basically,
Yeah.
family, those who serve the family, and everybody else is waste. These are people that
Uh-huh.
don't matter. And they had numbers of the populations, and you could just kind of see where a very small member, very small population very small number of the population is actually involved in anything beyond just being, you know,
Existing.
nothing, existing, having nothing. And even one of the brothers who he controls certain areas. I can't remember what his name of the family, but he basically said he's driving with his sister, who is a Lazarus named Forever. She says, "Why haven't you done anything in the countryside to take care of it?" He goes, "Why should I matter? I only took care of the areas that were needed." So basically,
Mhm.
you're responsible for either managing your area and making it worthwhile, or leaving it there and just focusing on what you need to survive and be, establish the family or keep the family going.
Yeah. So right from the jump, I oof. Quick overview. Right from the jump, I'm like, uh, I I'm not connecting with any of the character. The story just made me go, oh, cool. We're just following a bunch of scummy assholes. And even by the end of volume one here, I am in a very rare occasion of I am solidly teetering on the fence. It could very well come down to a 50-50 coin flip if I want to keep going with this.
Hmm. Yeah,
I'm
makes
just
sense.
it's
I
like
mean,
there's so little likable character here. Forever starts getting there, and honestly, the Forever's interaction with the other family's Lazarus did a lot of the heavy lifting
mhm,
in terms
yep.
of finally bringing in a likable character in any capacity here. Um, the the whole twist that she's not actual family, that she was functionally built for the family Carlyle, was felt very clunky. I'm like, wow, way to go for the obvious, because it felt painfully obvious from the jump. So when it finally came out, or you're like, well, yeah, you kind of gave that away by page five,
Yep.
but I there's some neat stuff in here, but man, I really struggled to get pulled into this. And that's kind of rare for me. And I don't know if it says more about me being like weirdly picky choosy about what I pick up and read or not, cuz I've had one person comment, it's like, "You met a comic you don't like?" I'm like, "Not often." But then again, I sat there and thought about it, I'm like, yeah, but I also tend to pick up stuff on recommendations that I trust that are going to
Mhm.
point me in the right direction and steer me away from slop and slag. So I don't know. Like I said, I finished this and I'm like, I don't know if I want to bother with the rest or not. Like
Hmm.
solidly split because I'm sitting there going, this could get better. I don't see myself ending up liking any of the other characters beyond the two Lazaruses that we've seen thus far. The question is for me, is that enough? Now, to that
Good.
end,
Yeah.
I like I like her character, and I know that whenever it finally breaks out later on down the line in this series, I'm I'm rooting for Forever here to basically off everybody else that's used and manipulated her, but at that point that just feels predictable for me, and you can see it coming a mile away. You know exactly how that shit's going to play out. And I'm just like, do I need to buy the rest of this to read it now? Cuz you just kind of know.
Interesting. I mean, I think that's a valid point. I mean, there's too many comics. I always say this. There's too many comics just to read something just because it's there. It's kind of like people that keep reading
Yeah.
a Spider-Man or something because you have loyalty to a character. I'm like, you don't have loyalty to anything. I always have loyalty typically to writers because that's
Mhm.
why I read the writers, not because of the art. The art is great, and the art always complements it. The art can actually drive can overcome bad writing, but that's typically very
Yeah.
hard to do. You need a good
It's very
combination,
much
then
the other
good
way
writing, good
around for me.
art. Yeah. So a good writer, a good artist, though, when they're hitting and are a good team, they elevate their work. It just works. And sometimes you can't imagine another artist writing a book and vice
Yeah.
versa. In this instance, this
The art's
reminds me
great.
of, yeah, Michael Lark is great. I love his style. It's very, to the point, but he plays well with basically shadows and different things like that. Movement works really well.
Get
Doesn't
real
need a
heavy on the
lot to
blacks.
yeah, doesn't need a lot also to convey what he's doing within the action. What I think is going on, this feels very much like a mob story, like we said already. Makes sense,
Mhm.
totally easy. But this is also like a Forever really doesn't have a personality yet. And we know that because she is essentially, we know she is a creation. We find that out by issue 3 or 4. Obviously, the first couple of pages of the book, she comes up from almost being dead. And why is she just, is she a person? Is she
I think she
like a
was dead.
cyborg? And she probably was, as we met the other automaton, or what are we going
Yeah.
to call
I
them, the
I was gonna
organic
say,
being.
I don't
He
think it was an
essentially
almost. I think she was dead, was the
and she
impression
could
it
be
gave.
because, well, Lazarus, I mean, the whole point of
Mhm.
like coming back and, her
When they
systems
talk about
coming back online. Well, they said reset
yeah.
the systems. Once she resets, that's part of it. And when the other Lazarus from the other family, when we see him after the explosion, you see his skin is peeled away and we've got metal. So
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how it was going to be because when they were taking, one of the sisters was taking diagnostics of Forever, they
Mhm.
were showing her skeleton, but I didn't see anything that looked like it was not human.
Yeah.
So wasn't 100% sure. So maybe they're not all the same. Maybe they are created differently. Every family is supposed to have one as their enforcer, as the family. She doesn't know, though, that she truly isn't a human. She truly thinks she is part of the family and she's their enforcer because they keep saying you can't tell her that because she'll come after you, all these things. So it is kind of neat where it's going. I do feel like at the end of this book, there is someone is talking to her now that she feels like, okay, something else is going on. We've got her family drama that's going to happen. And I truly think we're going to get more with Forever where it actually reveals potentially personality. Because right now she feels like a Pinocchio or more like a someone that is like a little girl and just follows dad. And beyond that, there's not much there. There's not much personality. Like she doesn't make quirks. She doesn't say anything funny. She feels like she doesn't really have a view in the world except to family first. That's about it. So I think we're going to get more of Unlucky It because the guy she was speaking to, the other Lazarus, feels like
Yeah.
he's led a different life. He's a little bit more aware of who he is
Mhm.
and what he is, and he's got a personality. So that's I see promise here, but to your point, I don't know. I think this book went on for like 36 issues, so I'm guessing since it's a it's not self published, but it is a creator owned book. He told the story he wanted to and finished.
Yeah.
So 36 issues, not long, but probably long enough to tell a story. But I'm intrigued, but I
In my
get it.
world, that's split
If you
across
don't,
4
yeah.
hardcovers.
Yeah. And I get it. If there's no one you find likable, which I didn't find anybody likable too, but I found like
Mhm.
there's maybe something more going on here, but it's 4 issues. It's always hard to see is that enough to really compel you, but I've read other books where one issue gets me in and I got it. I'm all in. So yeah, the fact that I didn't have to pay for this is less hurtful to me. Like, oh, I've got it and I could get back to it if I want to. But yeah, if you're paying $20, like I spent some money recently on some individual books, and yeah, it's harder to say, am I going to spend another $20 to read more? So I don't know. I thought it was an easy read. I thought in regards to it wasn't too difficult. There were some certain things I would have liked better, a little bit more telling of like how many families are there, how far of a region does this go, how big is this? This is just the United States, or is this everywhere across the world? There's more here, but to your point, Larry, I get it. If you didn't find anybody to root for, and you're like, I've seen this before and I know it's coming, it doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. But to all our points, I mean, we've read enough. We kind of feel like it, and if that's what you're feeling like it, then yeah, I would say don't bother and read something else you enjoy more. Time is
Here's
short.
so here's some speaking of time is short, something you hit on, like, clicked in my head just like, 2 minutes ago, in that subject of, how long does it take to tell that story type of deal? And it popped in my head because 'cause I'm like, "That's 4 issues in volume 1 here, right?" Wasn't that long ago, just within the last couple of months, I picked up and I tore through the complete series trade back of Red Light. Mind you,
Mm.
4 issue series. Red Light, from what I can tell from this first volume, told the complete story that Rucka is essentially trying to get at here in 4 issues instead of 36. It's not identical by any means, but the thematic is almost identical in terms
Sure.
of that artificial person discovering who they are, looking for and finding and getting their way out to make their life their own. And man, like red light, red light just hit perfectly. I won't call it a banger. That's not even the right word for it, but red light nailed what it was trying to do thematically, which seems to be the same thing that Lazarus is trying to do.
Yeah.
And it only took red light 4 issues. I'm 4 issues deep into Lazarus and going, is this worth another 32? Did did you need another 32 for this? Cuz I just finished a whole series in 4 issues that did what you were trying to do. Like skill issue, get good?
I don't know that. I think maybe that some people just want to tell a slower story, and maybe
No,
that's what it is.
granted.
Maybe it's like I pace it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, you know me. I'm all for the slow burn if it actually, leads to something of substance and payoff. We've talked over the years time and again. I will die on the cross for Babylon 5, but that first season, especially the first half of the first season, is a slog to get through,
yes. Hmm.
but it's necessary. And I'm sitting here now questioning how much of this was necessary as opposed to just poor pacing.
Interesting. I didn't mind the pacing. I thought you got enough of different elements. The family, you kind of met them all. You did some certain
Mhm.
things. So this may have to be one where I feel like I like enough that I would probably read more. And definitely, it feels like you're on the opposite page. Where like just not not the value is not there for you to say
I
I would invest more.
I won't rule out the possibility here that in 36 issues there's a lot more depth than what is teased out in these first 4, and there could be. I'm I will either go all in and pick up the full series run in hardcover across 4 volumes and read it all, or this is the and I go 0 further with it. There's kind of no in between for me.
How about this? I will read since I've got it available free. I will
Yeah.
read the next volume and say it's more of the same or they flip the script. I think that
Yeah.
might be helpful to you. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't know if there's other reviews out there too that maybe like, and I would say,
I'm sure
folks,
there are.
read reviews of books and then trust the reviewer you like, because if you don't know their personal preference or books they've liked in the past, hard to tell. But you know what? Check out
Yeah.
reviews of a book. If you're curious about this, look what's out there. Goodreads is a good place where people comment. Obviously, you don't want to be spoiled if you don't, but if you don't care about spoils, you just want a good read, you know what? That's a good place too. So,
League of Geeks is
um,
another worthwhile to check out for
Ex-
reviews.
exactly. Yep. And it's actually that's the service too that's really great for getting pull lists now, which is great.
That's
I'm
what I
glad they're doing
use.
it. And I know, yeah, our store is going to start pulling that in, but in the meantime, they say you can do that and just send it to us. I'm like, okay, I know you're just starting out. So, well, very good. Like I said, this is good to have these conversations about a book because not everything clicks with everybody. That's why there's so many
Yeah.
comics and it's hard to look in there like, what should I read? So, if you dug what I was saying, check this out. And if you're like not convinced, like Rahl, you know what? Uh, Ask me if after how I feel after the second volume, and we'll go from there. Hey, Secret Friends Unite! Let me tell you about Zencaster. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencaster is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio quality content all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencaster because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencaster has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencaster? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencaster. Log in using your browser and start recording a high quality podcast right away. Record studio quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of Zen knowing Zencaster's multi layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencaster's post production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So, if you're interested in making an easy, high quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to zencaster.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencaster paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
I'm legitimately interested to see what you think, if
Yeah.
I would be in for more of the same, or if it actually opens up and goes deeper. Like I said, I'm not ruling it out by any means. I'm just so torn because it will either go hard one way or hard the other.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yep.
know me, and the commitment is like, if I'm going for it, it's going to be all the way. So
I
I
get it.
tend not to half-ass my series. I'm either all in or all out. Like, God bless, less than a year ago, I got my hands on a fat stack of image firsts, and man, that did wonders for me for finding some amazing stuff that I absolutely fell in love with and became very near and dear to me. Descender, Ascender, which, braggy moment, C2E2 this year. I got my Descender and Ascender hardbacks all signed by Dustin Nguyen.
Nice.
He even did
Nice.
an
I like
adorable
that.
little Tim
Yeah.
21 sketch on one of them for me.
Excellent.
So,
And yeah, folks, if you get a chance to go to con and you meet an artist or a writer, have them sign something. Have them do a sketch
oh
for you.
yeah.
It's well worth it. Yeah, it's excellent. Very cool. And then what Rahl talked about with Image First is basically they reprinted the first issue, available. I think it's $1 each, and
Yeah,
it's a great
most of
way
them.
to see. It's very cheap way to get into just the first issue to see if you like the premise, the art, and the direction with that. So
If you need
that
more than
closes.
that,
Oh, good.
I
Mm-hmm.
want to say, if you need more than a first issue, though, keep in mind a lot of like larger series, Image does basically discounted rate on first volume trades as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I got the
Absolutely.
kiddo into Paper Girls because the first trade was $10. She's fallen
Oh
in
yeah, and then
love.
sometimes the smaller editions, Marvel did that back in the day to make it
Yeah.
more, feasible to get people in. And once you hook a reader and they like it, they're ready for the next one.
Mhm.
So that closes the book of this issue of Lazarus. Once again, this is available on Comixology Unlimited, Kindle if you want to buy it digitally in your bookstore, your library, or half price books. So with that, Rahl, thank you so much for joining me. Love to hear your thoughts on comic books. You've got a lot. So we will probably be talking another episode in the future.
Let's do
And
it again,
remember,
man.
folks, yeah, absolutely. There's always new comics to read. So with that, folks, I always say, keep on reading.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.